With that, we bring in Ambassador John Bolton, former ambassador to the United Nations, also former national security advisor. Ambassador, is this a drill, or is this sort of a drill that might turn into more?
Well, I think it's intended, obviously, as almost literally a shot across the bow of the newly inaugurated Taiwanese president, and to challenge what they think, what Beijing thinks is a new government in Taiwan that's going to try and push harder to get recognition for an independent Taiwan. So there are political elements here and military elements as well. You know, there's a lot of speculation whether what China is threatening to do is an outright invasion of Taiwan, or if they'll try something else, like creating a pretext for a political dispute and then throwing a blockade around the island to see if the United States, Japan, and others will break the blockade. So I think we're obviously, our strategic thinking in the Pentagon and elsewhere is at full speed now to deal with both the possibility of an invasion and a blockade. We need significantly greater American military assets in the region. We need significantly greater military assets around the world. But in that part of the Pacific, we're woefully inadequate in naval strength. We don't have as many ships at sea as the Navy needs. They don't get built overnight. We need a big increase in naval shipbuilding. But we need to think through at a political military level how to deter China until we can get the wherewithal there that really would protect either against a Chinese invasion or a Chinese blockade.
So if you're Xi Jinping right now and you're looking at the American political situation, which he studies carefully, we know, you see Donald Trump up in the polls. You look at American foreign policy, what we did in Ukraine or are doing in Ukraine, and what we are doing with Israel. Why would you wait and take the risk of Donald Trump being elected president?
Well, I think the Chinese calculus is complicated. I think Xi Jinping thinks he knows how to handle Donald Trump, and that right after the election, if he called him up and said, let's talk about a big trade deal, Trump would likely jump at it. I think what Beijing is focused on is bandwidth at the current time. The administration faces the Russian invasion in Ukraine. It faces Iranian-led chaos across the Middle East, and the election campaign, which obviously will increasingly consume the White House's attention. So they may think there's a period of vulnerability while we're just overextended with crises internationally and affairs domestically, that this may be a time to make a move. But there's one very important factor Xi Jinping also has to take into account. If he launches something against Taiwan, blockade, invasion, whatever, or something in the South China Sea, or something against Vietnam or India on their long land border, he needs to succeed. If he fails, or is seen to fail, or it doesn't go well, that could be regime threatening to him. So in his calculus, he has to be pretty sure that it's going to come out the right way before he acts.
Another group that doesn't often act without having thought things through pretty well is Hamas and their backers in Iran. Just crossing in the past less than an hour or so is a report, it's unconfirmed, but from reliable sources, U.S. service member critically injured and 2 others hurt at the Gaza aid pier. We were, of course, told that U.S. forces would not in any way be in danger. Now, it turns out Hamas has critically injured 1 and 2 others hurt. Does that change things in the Middle East?
Well, I think it could. I mean, look, this pier was offered as the solution to everything, all the humanitarian problems. We've also seen reporting in the past several days that very little of the aid that's been delivered to the pier and actually offloaded onto the shore has gotten out to the Gazan people, and not entirely clear why. But I tell you, you can have a humanitarian mission, as the U.S. had in Somalia in 1992 to open corridors for humanitarian assistance during the civil war there. That succeeded, and then when George H.W. Bush left office and the Clinton administration came in, they tried to engage in nation building, and we had Black Hawk Down, and many casualties for American service members. So they may be doing humanitarian work, but they were always at risk, and I thought it was a real mistake for the administration to say, no boots on the ground, ha ha, just boots in the water.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.